This is why offshore wind is not ideal.
My camera is malfunctioning.
Yeah, it seems fine to land. Yeah, I kind of regret this, but I think it'll be fine to take off here. This is one of those YOLO moments that I'm like, why did I do this? So I'm at the border between the city of Calexico in the US and Mexicali in Mexico. I'm about to cross and meet up with my friend Scott. It should be fine. The first time I tried to cross the border, I was in my Ford Explorer and I had my paramotor broken down and I crossed without any issues. Nobody talked to me. It's the easiest border crossing in about 50 countries that I've visited. The next time I tried to cross the border, I had a trailer and there was issues with the registration, so they turned me away. They searched it and turned me away. I think I'm through. I think I made it. I'm not like 100% sure. I'd say I'm 90% sure, and as I'm speaking, it's going up. I'm definitely in the city of Mexicali. I've made it through. I didn't talk to a single person. It's all automated. I didn't even have to come to a complete stop. So I'm really stoked to be back in Mexico. This is one of my favorite places, Baja California. Very excited to fly the Colorado River Delta, Rocky Point, some other places in Mexicali, and get some sick photos. So stay tuned for those at the end of the video. Cheers. What's up, guys? So tonight is a shoot that I've been looking forward to for a very long time. I'm finally back to the Colorado River Delta. I've flown here before. I got the best pictures I've ever taken here, pretty much. And now I'm back with my buddy Scott, and I'm trying to take the pictures with a sharper lens, as well as a wing cam, which malfunctioned the last time I was here, and hopefully get some 4K 60 footage as well. And the really good thing about this flight is that Scott will be in the pictures and I'll be in his, and that's pretty much a first. I've never seen a picture of the Colorado River Delta with an actual subject before, aside from my chase cam pics from last time. So we've got perfect conditions. The wind's great. We should have a headwind all the way there and a tailwind on the way back, which is perfect. Hopefully nothing goes wrong, and with any luck, we'll get some very good pictures tonight. Vlogging helmet is working this time. Messed up the audio on a really cool flight a few days ago over the Delta. So this is me trying to get something else from the same area. All right, guys. This is why offshore wind is not ideal. There's just a constant force biasing you towards the ocean, and now all your calculations are kind of off. And it has to do with the fact that the land heats up during the day and the air rises and sucks the colder air off the water. So about probably like 10 a.m. it'll turn onshore. But every morning it's like kind of light usually and offshore. This morning it's not light. It's like mid-wind, 7 miles an hour or something, 5 miles an hour, and offshore. So super not ideal conditions. Generally best not to fly when it's offshore, but we are flying now because it's kind of a special location and we're going inland a bit. the Colorado River Delta stretches 5 miles inland. So eventually, once I'm up high, I'll be quite a bit inland, which is much better during the boarding. This is the Colorado River Delta. It's where the famous Colorado River of Canada and the US, or maybe not Canada, I'm not sure where it starts, but it carves all the way down south, carving things such as the Grand Canyon and a bunch of other well-known landmarks. And eventually it makes its way all the way to the mouth of the Sea of Cortez, or at least it used to. Nowadays, almost no fresh water makes it that far south. All right, guys, it's gonna take a little while, so I'm gonna put on some music, throw on a time lapse for you guys, and catch up with you once I'm at the Delta itself. Cheers. It's taking a very long time. I'm pretty much parked, going like 19 miles per hour. Probably got another 2 miles to go, but it just feels like I'm inching along. Alright guys, we're pretty much at the Delta now. We're not quite to the area that is my favorite, but this is it. So all of this used to be a big wetlands area, like mangroves, that type of thing. But now that all the water has been diverted, this is all that remains. And you can see all the way across the Sea of Cortez. This is the only place I've been where it's narrow enough to see across, but this stretches all the way around. It's all like this. Man, this is so cool. It's really one of my favorite places.
My camera is malfunctioning. You know, I've got to tell you, this is one of the very worst places for a camera to fail. A lot of the time with a paramotor, your flight is just not going to be ideal for pictures. Or it's going to take pictures that are kind of generic or not that useful, and it's fun to take the pics, but this is not one of those places. This is a place where you take like really, really compelling pictures from a paramotor, and the light was pretty good. I was about ready to take a few more really nice shots, and I couldn't have chosen a worse place for the camera to fail, honestly. I'm just glad I was able to get some pictures before it did. You know, I might scope out the beach and land even. Walk around and explore by foot. Nature's so cool. This is a thing that is underappreciated by people who don't fly. Is just you get to experience nature so holistically. If you're on the ground, you might see a deer here or there, but it runs away and then you don't see it anymore. From the sky, it runs away, but you still see where it ran to. And you see like all the deer. Like all the deer in that square mile you will probably see. And in the ocean it just gets even cooler. You see all these weird little birds and sea turtles and small stuff even. You see crabs. You can see all this from the sky. Gotta land. It really seems like I'm landing on bars. It's worth it to land, I think. Look at it. This is all the branches of the tree. This is one of those massive patterns. Yeah, it seems fine to land. Oof. Still pretty muddy. Yeah, I kind of regret this, but I think it'll be fine to take off here. It's just one of those like bucket list things. I just always wanted to land here and explore, but to be honest, I'm not sure it's going to be possible. It's very soft. You could see by footprints it could, and this is far from the delta, so if I get close, I'm sure it's even worse. I'm not sure the chase cam footage is going to be too good after this. Well, we're in it, so I might as well put the motor down, even though it's going to sink into the delta a little bit. This is one of those YOLO moments that I'm like, why did I do this? It's just so inconvenient to launch again. And, you know, we're a good 3 miles from the highway if my engine doesn't start. Yeah, so this is what the Colorado River Delta looks like from the ground. It's just a completely flat, super soft lake. Alright, this is it. This is where it all begins. Look at that paramotor off in this desolate field underneath the mountains in Mexico. All right. Good news, there's a ton of wind, so launching should not be much of an issue. Oh yeah, we've got a ton of wind. Moment of the truth. Will the motor start? That's the real risk. We're good. Just gotta get it, keep it from dying. I'm gonna just kill it actually. Get strapped in, have a nice launch, and fly home. Alright. It's gonna be a nice, non-eventful takeoff. Hopefully the wind hasn't shifted. There's really no way I would know.
worst case scenario. Prop is shredded, cage is destroyed, lines are cut. You know, it's not the worst. I didn't get hurt. The wing is not hurt, so that's nice. But what happened was, because there's no sand or any way to like tell the wind once I'm set up, right? So once I inflated the wing, I could feel it like come take form overhead, and but I was crosswind, so I was kind of adding a bit of power and it's like pulling me to the side. But I added a bit too much power, and I tried to like correct. And I also have this really heavy wing cam on my wing to take the like kicks of the delta like looking down at me, and that just makes it heavier and more likely to collapse on takeoff. And it just lost a little bit of pressure and collapsed straight into the motor at full power. And the prop came around, grabs that line, and the lines pull it into the cage. Prop blows up. The cage gets bent, realistically beyond repair. And now I am stranded 3 miles from the highway. So I better get going. Scott's gonna meet me in like an hour. Got to carry all of this stuff 3 miles. It's the worst engine out I've ever had, for sure. It's not even an engine out, it's just a botched launch in the worst possible place. And a total showstopper for this trip. Gotta buy a new paramotor pretty much. Yeah, so we've got a long ways to go. Got another 2.5 miles to this way to the highway. Well, I'm about like a little over halfway there. We're out of the delta area. We're into like the shrubs, and I'm trying to avoid any snakes. That's kind of the sketch part, because when I'm holding this big parachute, I can't really see my feet, and there's definitely a lot of rattlesnakes around here. So I'm trying to stay in the clear part of the wash and just power through it and make it to the highway so Scott can pick me up, and hopefully I can get there soon because it's gonna get hotter and hotter, of course. So let's get to it. Oh my gosh, guys. It's the highway. I'm finally here. Thanks, man. Yeah.
Adventure continues, huh?
Yep. The curse is not broken. What's up, guys? So, just thought I'd give you a quick update now that a few days have passed. Basically, once I got rescued, the paramotor was obviously like beyond repair for our time in Mexico. I ordered a new frame and some new lines and some new props, 2 new props, because I break them, so I need more than one. But that won't get here in time for this trip. So pretty much we stayed another day. Scott got one more flight, and then we got hit by some pretty bad weather. And we headed south to a place called Puertocito, hung out in some hot springs for a little while, waiting out the weather, and it's a good 3 or 4 days of really high wind. So for better or worse, I didn't really miss that much flying. It was really not that viable for much longer. And we had always planned to go back to the US for Christmas. So right now, this is our last day pretty much. Scott just took off. He's gonna head and explore a different part of the Delta that I've never been to, which I'm pretty jealous of. And I'm gonna sit back here and maybe do some work on the motor, make sure everything's okay mechanically with it, so that if I do need some new parts that I can order them. But yeah, it's still been an awesome trip. I've had a lot of time to think about what I would do differently, and I've had a lot of time to practice kiting. So I've gotten a lot more comfortable with this new faster wing, and I think I'm gonna be a bit more conservative with my landing and taking off, in particular with when I start going to power on the motor. I think
This wing is really easy to launch. I learned on the Mojo, which is much bigger, or at least a much slower wing, much harder to launch. And with that, I just botched so many forward launches that I got used to adding power as soon as I possibly could, because I was always like kind of on the verge of it like collapsing down behind me and me having to set up all over again. So but the thing about the Roadster is I don't really have that issue, especially at sea level. There's really no reason that I couldn't have just kited it, gotten it in the exact perfect direction, perfectly stable, turn around, take off. I just got lazy and impatient. So lessons learned. Probably I'm not going to fly with a wing cam for a while either. That definitely is a risk factor I'm apparently not ready for. I think in a month I'm going to meet up with Rob, and we're going to head back to the Colorado River Delta, do some flights over here and some other places in Mexicali, and then we are all just going to take our time going down the Baja Peninsula and fly all over the place and hopefully not break any more gear. I think it's going to be really cool, so stay tuned for that. Now I'm going to throw up the photos I got from the Colorado River, because actually right before I landed and had the whole disaster, I got one of my favorite photos I've ever taken. So check it out.